At the peak of the sky-reaching river stood the 9th-level Cultivation Cave Heaven. As Xiao Yan stepped into this place, he immediately sensed the difference from everywhere else he'd been. From the outside, the sky-reaching river appeared as a river flowing from the earth to the sky, but its peak was another matter entirely. Here, the ceaseless crashing waves reverberated with an extraordinary and immense force, shaking one's spirit. The reputation of this peak truly lives up to its name, Xiao Yan remarked with a slight smile, knowing at a glance that this place was no ordinary domain. Just upon arriving, Xiao Yan could feel the unusual energy here. Merely absorbing a few wisps of the atmosphere from the sky-reaching river stirred his Dou Qi into an eager, restless state. So, this is the sky-reaching imperial qi, but how do I actually absorb it? He muttered in a low voice, sensing that dealing with this formidable place wouldn't be easy. Swoosh, swoosh. Just as Xiao Yan was pondering his next move, a column of water suddenly shot up from the crashing waves below. In an instant, it transformed into a ferocious beast, lunging straight at him. Damn it! Xiao Yan gasped, his eyes widening in shock. This river actually possessed a consciousness of sorts, and the strength of its attack was no less than that of a perfect 6-star Dou Di. However, Xiao Yan wasn't one to hesitate. His figure flashed, and suddenly the ancient ruler of heavenly flames appeared in his hand, glowing brilliantly with the sacred flame. As the flame enveloped the ruler, a surge of fiery energy radiated from it. The water column morphed into a serpent's head, hissing menacingly as it charged toward him. Even with the sacred flame surrounding him, the serpent did not retreat in the slightest. Boom, boom, boom. Xiao Yan swung the ancient ruler of heavenly flames with all his might. As the two forces collided, ripples of intense energy spread outward. It seems the 9th-level Cultivation Cave Heaven won't be conquered so easily, Xiao Yan muttered, his sharp gaze locked onto the river below. His instincts told him this was no ordinary river. After all, it hadn't reacted to his presence when he first arrived, but once he approached, it launched a fierce attack. Cough, cough. Xiao Yan took a few steps back, warily eyeing the golden-hued waters of the sky-reaching river below. That sudden strike had caught him off guard, but his years of battle experience had helped him respond quickly. In the next moment, Xiao Yan's eyes gleamed as he shot back toward the river. Splash! Sensing the intruder again, this time the sky-reaching river unleashed 10 towering water columns. Each one carried the strength of a 7-star Dou Di. Shit! Xiao Yan cursed under his breath, quickly turning to flee. The power behind even a single column was enough to make his scalp tingle, let alone 10. A comical scene unfolded. Xiao Yan was sprinting away at full speed while the 10 golden water columns chased after him relentlessly. This should be far enough, Xiao Yan muttered after running a good distance. Only then did the water columns stop, seemingly losing track of their target. They slowly retreated back into the river. Looks like my guess was right, he mused. The sky-reaching imperial qi at the heart of the river is incredibly potent, but with the river itself guarding it, it won't be easy to obtain. The closer you get to the sky-reaching imperial qi, the stronger the river's attacks become. When I was still dozens of meters away, its power already matched that of a 7-star Dou Di. If I get any closer, I'll probably need the strength of a 9-star Dou Di just to survive. Xiao Yan stopped in his tracks, narrowing his eyes as he stared at the distant river. In the middle of the sky-reaching river, the golden waters flowed around a dazzling dark red liquid at the very center. This was the most concentrated form of the sky-reaching imperial qi. Xiao Yan could sense that if he managed to absorb that mass of imperial qi, breaking through to the perfect 6-star Dou Di would be within his reach. This sky-reaching imperial qi has already condensed into a liquid form. What a treasure! He chuckled to himself, an idea forming in his mind. Let's see if this works. A mischievous smile crept onto his face as he eyed the sky-reaching river. The river flowed on, oblivious to everything around it unless someone entered its attack range. Only then would it react aggressively. Heaven's wrath of the soul. Xiao Yan muttered softly. A radiant surge of soul power emanated from him and rushed toward the river. Splash! The sky-reaching river trembled violently under the pressure of his soul attack. Now's my chance. Xiao Yan seized the moment, his figure darting forward with lightning speed as he reached for the radiant dark-red imperial qi at the river's core. Rumble. The river let out an angry roar, but it was preoccupied with fending off the soul attack. Gotcha. Xiao Yan laughed. Boom, boom, boom. A tremendous surge of sacred flame energy surged from Xiao Yan's palm, piercing through the protective barrier of the sky-reaching river and slamming directly into the dark red liquid. Whoa! As soon as Xiao Yan made contact with the dark red liquid, a mournful wail echoed from the sky-reaching river, filled with sorrow. Come out! Xiao Yan shouted with force, realizing that the dark red liquid was reluctant to leave. With a determined grunt, he exerted more strength. With a loud splash, the dark red liquid was forcibly dragged out from the depths of the sky-reaching river. Almost immediately, the river seemed to lose its power, falling into an eerie calm. Let's see if you behave now, Xiao Yan muttered with a grin as he watched the river quiet down. His gaze was now fixed on the palm-sized dark red liquid in his hand. This was none other than the sky-reaching imperial qi from the river's highest point. Now, let's hope this helps me break through, Xiao Yan said, and without hesitation, he swallowed the dark red liquid. Gulp, gulp. As the sky-reaching imperial qi entered his body, an intense heat quickly spread throughout, surging through Xiao Yan's veins. What dazzling power, but you forget, I have the sacred flame. Xiao Yan's mind registered the volatile energy within the imperial qi, but with both the sacred flame and imperial flame at his disposal, he was undeterred. This formidable force, feared by the Incense pavilion for its deadly intensity, was now yielding to Xiao Yan's relentless soul attacks. As he continued to absorb it, his own strength grew progressively. Days passed since Xiao Yan and his team had entered the Cultivation Cave Heaven. On the 5th day, the Incense Pavilion's highest-level conference room was filled with people. Normally, this place remained closed, only opened in times of crisis or important matters. Today, every seat was occupied. At the head of the table sat Xiao Yan's master, Zhu Jin, his face grave, showing no trace of emotion. Beside him sat Elder Qing, Vice Master of the Heaven Hall, Ling Mingsheng, Master of the Earth Hall, Xiong Yuan, Vice Master of the Earth Hall, and Mu Xiuzi, Vice Master of the Human Hall, alongside Chang Yu, who oversaw the pavilion's outer hall. This seems urgent. What's going on? Chang Yu asked, his voice barely breaking the unnerving silence. Let's wait a bit longer. There are still 2 more to come, Zhu Jin replied quietly. Chang Yu nodded, holding his peace, as his role was primarily outside the inner hall, and he wasn't as familiar with internal affairs. Zhu, you know to call on us now, do you? A disgruntled voice suddenly echoed from the door. Heads turned as a man and a woman entered, their advanced age evident, though a fierce energy still emanated from them. Elder of Heaven, Elder of Earth. What brings you here? Elder Qing's heart sank upon seeing them. These two, known as the 2 Elders of Heaven and Earth, had resided in the Heaven Hall for years, assisting the sect in times of trouble. However, Zhu Jin had a complicated past with them. Elder Qing remembered that in his youth, Zhu Jin had roamed the Dou continent, famed as the top battle array master of Mystic 3 Heavens. During his travels, he had crossed paths with the 2 elders due to a misunderstanding, which had left their relationship forever strained. Little Qing, this is none of your concern. This is between us and him, said the Elder of Heaven, the male of the 2 elders, his voice tinged with anger. The 2 elders were senior to Elder Qing in both age and power, so it was natural for them to address him as Little Qing. Very well. Now that everyone's here, let's begin, Zhu Jin announced, rising slightly from his seat. With the Heaven Hall, Earth Hall, and Human Hall gathered here, and the 2 elders present, the core strength of the Incense Pavilion was assembled. Zhu Jin, don't try to dodge my questions. Elder of Heaven demanded. Tell me what happened back then. Speak up. Old man, put our grievances aside for now. We're here for something important, interjected the Elder of Earth, the female of the 2 elders, attempting to calm her partner. Fine. Elder of Heaven huffed but sat down reluctantly beside his wife. It was all a misunderstanding. You two have clung to this for years. Aren't you tired of holding on to this grudge? Even I'm exhausted, Zhu Jin shook his head, looking at them with a touch of resignation. He knew that if he didn't clarify this matter today, the two elders would likely refuse to assist. And without their support, rescuing Yin Qi would become a much tougher task. Liar. If it weren't for you and your battle array powers, we would never have lost our daughter. She's been missing for over 30 years. We had only one child, and now she's gone. We don't even know if she's still alive. Elder of Heaven shouted angrily. I've kept an eye out for her. If I find anything, you'll be the first to know, Zhu Jin replied firmly. But today, we aren't here to discuss this. A sudden burst of energy emanated from him, cutting off any further argument. Ha! Half-step Dou Xian. Elder of Heaven initially seemed angry, but after Elder Zhu released his power, his expression grew solemn. The past events were indeed not entirely Elder Zhu's fault, but the pain of losing a daughter could not be so easily resolved. Sit down, let's get to the point, Elder Zhu said calmly, noticing that the two elders of heaven and earth had slightly calmed down. Everyone here is from the higher-ups of the Incense pavilion, so I'll skip the pleasantries. The purpose of this meeting is Yin Qi. Elder Zhu's voice, though gentle, carried a weight that shook everyone's heart. Damn it! The Earth Hall Master stood up abruptly upon hearing this, unable to hold back his profanity. There was a deeply personal reason for his outburst. Back when he was just an inner disciple of the Incense Pavilion, he had met his beloved, Xian Muqing, and their love had blossomed, resulting in the birth of their first daughter, Ling Tong, who had now grown into a capable and heroic woman. A few years later, they had a second daughter. However, during this second birth, Xian Muqing tragically passed away in Xianling City, as the Earth Hall Master was away on business. Upon his return, he found his beloved dead, worn out from childbirth. Even after all these years, the Earth Hall Master, Ling Mingxing, still couldn't fully accept it. After further investigation, Ling Mingxing came to believe that his wife's death had something to do with the Xianling royal family. For years, he had suppressed his desire for revenge, only for the sake of his two daughters. Otherwise, he would have long sought answers from the Xianling royal family. Mingxing, calm yourself. We also found the circumstances suspicious back then, but it happened in Xianling City, and there's much we still don't know, said Elder of Heaven, who, seeing Ling Mingxing's rising emotions, released a calming wave of life force. Thank you, Elder of Heaven, Ling Mingxing said, his turbulent emotions slightly settling. You must proceed cautiously in this matter. But I believe Madam Ling may still be alive, added Elder of Earth, offering words of comfort. I hope so, Ling Mingxing replied, his heart filled with both hope and dread. He had long suspected that the remains he had found were not truly his wife's, and this lingering doubt kept him from ever giving up. Mingxing, your situation is indeed strange. Once we rescue Yin Qi, the entire Incense Pavilion will help you in your search, Elder Zhu reassured him. Now, let's return to the main topic. What are your thoughts on rescuing Yin Qi? Elder Zhu asked, turning his attention to the group of high-ranking members. Rescuing Yin Qi. Elder of Heaven repeated, setting aside his previous argument with Elder Zhu to consider the matter. Yin Qi's name might be unknown to most disciples of the Incense Pavilion, but to the older generation, he was legendary. Without Yin Qi, the Incense Pavilion would have been wiped out during the Ghost Realm invasion and the looming threat from the Xianling royal family. Yin Qi, wielding the power of the sacred flame, was a force to be reckoned with in the mystic three heavens. But for reasons unknown, he had left abruptly, saying only that he was going to search for his sister. He had never been seen since. The Incense Pavilion, deeply indebted to Yin Qi, had sent countless disciples to search for him. Eventually, a lead surfaced. Yin Qi had been captured by the Xianling royal family. While many were skeptical, given Yin Qi's immense strength as a Dou Xian and his command over the sacred flame, it was difficult to believe the royal family could overpower him. Nevertheless, the mystery troubled the Incense Pavilion's leadership, and with their pavilion master in seclusion, Elder Zhu had held back any rash actions, knowing that without concrete evidence, they might only alert the enemy. Rescuing Yin Qi. Elder Chang Yu's eyes lit up at the mention of his old benefactor. As a young man, Chang Yu had vowed to repay Yin Qi's kindness one day. Yes, Elder Zhu continued. Our informant within the Xianling royal family has confirmed that Yin Qi is indeed in their hands. His voice grew heavy with concern. The mention of the Xianling royal family sent a wave of unease through the room. It was no small force, and while no one doubted their resolve to rescue Yin Qi, they all knew the dangers that lay ahead. Now that we know, we can plan accordingly. This time, we must succeed. Chang Yu declared with determination. He had waited far too long for this moment, unwilling to let anything stand in his way of repaying the debt he owed to Yin Qi. Yes, the purpose of this meeting is to formulate a solid plan. Does anyone have any suggestions? Elder Zhu asked, keeping his anxiety under wraps. I think we need to proceed with extreme caution, Ling Mengxing said after a pause. The strength of the Xianling royal family isn't something we can easily measure. If we succeed, it will be a great victory, but if we fail, Yin Qi may be lost forever. The Earth Hall Master is right. This must be handled with the utmost care. Even now, the power known to the public is merely the surface strength of the Xianling royal family. On the surface alone, the Xianling royal family commands 3 major legions. The other 2 legions are of no real threat to Zhu Jin and his companions due to their lower rank. However, the most formidable one, the Dragon-Devouring Legion, cannot be ignored. The strength of this legion is formidable, with most of its members at the level of 8-star Dou Di, and a few, including the captain, nearing the rank of Dou Xian. There are even a few 9-star Dou Dis among them. Moreover, this is just the visible strength of the Xianling royal family. How much power they hold in the shadows is anyone's guess. By the way, do we know the exact location where Yin Qi is being held? The Elder of Earth asked softly. A woman's way of thinking is often different from a man's, but undeniably more meticulous. Oh, right. I nearly forgot if you hadn't mentioned it, Zhu Jin said. Yin Qi is imprisoned in the deepest part of the Xianling royal family's underground palace. The deepest part of the underground palace? Everyone gasped at the revelation. Good grief. The underground palace was built with enormous manpower and resources. It is filled with deadly traps, and even a peak-level Dou Di expert might not dare enter lightly. If it's the deepest part of the underground palace, this could be tricky, the Elder of Heaven remarked, frowning slightly, clearly recalling something. Elder of Heaven, if you have any concerns, feel free to speak, Zhu Jin said, noticing the fleeting expression of doubt on his face. As far as I know, there hasn't been any news of the previous Xianling king's demise. When you mentioned the deepest part of the underground palace, I couldn't help but think of that old monster. That old monster nearly perished at the hands of our Incense pavilion master years ago. If he's still alive after all these years, he would have likely stepped into the Dou Xian rank. Combine that with the Dou Xian expert the Xianling royal family has recruited, and they would possess 2 Dou Xian level powerhouses, the Elder of Heaven said in a low voice. A Dou Xian. Just one could change the course of an entire battle, capable of dominating even in the mystic 3 heavens. Indeed, I've considered that as well, Zhu Jin responded calmly. But when the time comes, with both me and the pavilion master, 2 Dou Xian level opponents shouldn't be a problem. Are you sure? The Elder of Heaven questioned, gazing at Zhu Jin doubtfully. Though Zhu Jin had reached the level of a half-step Dou Xian, there was a significant gap between a true Dou Xian and a half-step Dou Xian. Don't worry. While I can't guarantee victory against a Dou Xian, I am confident that I can hold my ground. Don't forget, I am the top battle array master in the mystic 3 heavens, Zhu Jin smiled. In that case, the highest level threat has been addressed. With the pavilion master and you, as long as a 3rd Dou Xian doesn't appear within the Xianling royal family, we stand a great chance of winning this battle. The Elder of Heaven nodded. As for the Dragon-Devouring Legion, we shouldn't worry too much. Although Elder of Earth and I are getting on in years, we can still hold off a legion for the time it takes a stick of incense to burn. After hearing the Elder of Heaven's words, Ling Mengsheng, Elder Qing, and Mu Shuzi all nodded quietly. This seemed to be the best approach under the current circumstances. Now, we need to devise the most detailed plan. The Elder of Heaven suddenly smiled slyly. But before that, How about giving this operation a code name? What do you all think? Elder Qing chimed in. A code name, huh? Why not? Let's choose one. Zhu Jin nodded in agreement and turned his gaze toward Elder Qing. How about we call this plan Soaring Eagle, a symbol of a mighty eagle longing for freedom, soaring high into the sky. Elder Qing proclaimed passionately. Excellent. The Soaring Eagle plan. Let's begin the discussion. The group, invigorated by the suggestion, felt a surge of excitement. They knew that the next step, formulating a detailed plan, was crucial. First, the most critical step in this plan is figuring out how to infiltrate Xianling City or approach the inner workings of the Xianling royal family, Zhu Jin said thoughtfully. The royal family's inner quarters were heavily guarded, and one misstep could alert the enemy, especially considering the heightened security around the underground palace. Upon hearing this, a sense of unease crept into everyone's hearts. They all knew that at their level of power, both openly and secretly, many forces were watching them. If they were to mysteriously disappear, other sects or even the Xianling royal family would be on high alert. In that case, they could risk alarming the enemy prematurely, which would be disastrous. This is indeed a major concern. After all, we've gathered the top-tier combat forces from the Incense pavilion. If we all move out like this, it would undoubtedly cause quite a stir, Mu Shuzi remarked with a smile, though he had no immediate solution. This problem is actually simple to solve. I've recently learned a profound Dou skill that allows me to create clones of ourselves to remain here. These clones won't drain much of my Dou Qi, and they look identical to us. The only downside is that they lack any combat power, Ling Mingxing explained. However, I can mask our strength in such a way that those monitoring us will sense it. Unless something unexpected happens, I'm confident I can deceive anyone keeping an eye on us. Brilliant! The Elder of Heaven was elated, not just because this initial problem had been solved, but also because of Ling Mingxing himself. After his lover's passing, Ling Mingxing had spiraled into depression. Since he had already begun learning Dou skills, it seemed his mind had eased considerably. Then I'll leave this matter to you. Zhu Jin smiled slightly at these words, confident in Ling Mingxing's abilities. This is just the first step. The rest will require us to enter the Earth Palace. The power and guards inside the Earth Palace, according to our intel, include no fewer than 3 9-star Dou Dis, 5 8-star Dou Dis, and some 7-star Dou Dis. This will likely be the most dangerous part, Zhu Jin explained. How do we get into the Earth Palace after leaving the Incense Pavilion? Xiong Yuan narrowed his eyes, puzzled. That's simple. Fortunately, our Incense Pavilion already has a method. We can use Feiduan to escape detection, Mu Shuzi replied. Feiduan? Could it be? Chang Yu was slightly surprised upon hearing this. This Feiduan was something he'd heard of long ago. It signified a flight tunnel. This tunnel had existed long before and was created by the master of the Incense Pavilion, so there was no need to worry about it being discovered by the Xianling royal family. After all, the methods of a Dou Xian level expert would be nearly impossible to detect without someone of equal strength. Next, it's the Earth Palace. From what I know, there are 7 levels in the Earth Palace. Starting from the first, the deeper we go, the more dangerous it becomes, Elder Qing said with a hint of worry. 7 levels? Then Yin Qi should be on the 7th level, Zhu Jin mused, a glint of doubt flashing in his eyes. I once led Xiao Yan and the others to soak in the Xianling Royal Pool, which is located on the 1st level of the Earth Palace. But due to the urgency of the situation, I didn't have time to explore further. One thing is certain, though, Yin Qi's presence can be felt inside the Earth Palace, Zhu Jin stated firmly. As Zhu Jin spoke, the other experts nodded in agreement. The relationship between Yin Qi and the master of the Incense Pavilion was something none of them could compare to. Since Zhu Jin was sure Yin Qi was on the 7th level, they could proceed with confidence. Even though we've confirmed that Yin Qi is on the 7th level, the array of forces in the Earth Palace is vast. Relying on just a few of us will be difficult. Mu Shuzi glanced around at the others as he spoke. Indeed, in terms of numbers, we are at a disadvantage, but this is all the strength we can muster for now. The other elders are busy maintaining order at the Incense Pavilion and can't spare anyone else. The Hall Master of the Human Hall is still away, and the Hall Master of the Heaven Hall is in seclusion and has yet to emerge. Zhu Jin shook his head. There are just too many powerful figures inside the Earth Palace. Is your intel reliable? Elder of Heaven asked with a slight frown. The number of strong fighters will only be more than I've reported, not less, Zhu Jin said without hiding anything from the others. Damn it, let's go all out. They're just a few 8-star Dou Dis and 7-star Dou Di underlings. I can handle them on my own, Ling Mingxing volunteered boldly. As for the 9-star Dou Dis, leave them to the two of us, Mu Shuzi and Xiong Yuan said, no longer hesitating. They knew now wasn't the time to back down. You too. Elder of Earth was a bit surprised. Though Xiong Yuan and Mu Shuzi were powerful, dealing with a 9-star Dou Di would still be challenging. After all, the gap between a perfect 8-star Dou Di and a 9-star Dou Di was not a small one. Enough, we must be cautious. Xiong Yuan, Mu Shuzi, you two will handle one 9-star Dou Di. The two elders of heaven and earth will take care of the other. Changyu, you'll be responsible for support, Elder Zhu said after a moment of thought. No problem. All right. Understood. Hearing Zhu Jin's plan, the others nodded in agreement, satisfied with the arrangement. By the way, when do we act? Changyu asked eagerly, now that the plan was almost fully set. There's no rush. According to the Master's message, in 6 months, a ruin will descend upon the mystic three heavens. That ruin contains something the Xianling royal family is determined to obtain. They'll send out a significant force, and that will be our chance. We only get one shot. Zhu Jin's gaze suddenly deepened as he recalled a carefree man in a fiery red robe who flashed through his mind. Got it. Changyu replied with a single word of acknowledgement. All right, everyone, prepare yourselves. Once the Master returns, the operation will begin. Everything is ready. We're just waiting for the right moment. Zhu Jin smiled confidently, clearly assured of success. Where is the Master now? Elder Qing asked suddenly. Heh, the Master? He's probably off dealing with his romantic entanglements. Elder Zhu chuckled, a teasing smirk on his lips. Far from the Incense pavilion, a middle-aged man suddenly sneezed. Achoo! Who's cursing me now? Really, how petty, the man muttered as he continued on his way. Ahead of him stood the Myriad Flowers Pavilion, directly across from the Incense Pavilion. This man was none other than the current master of the Incense Pavilion, Fan Tian. The Incense Pavilion was located in the Huashan mountain range, a rare and valuable geomantic treasure. Although the Myriad Flowers Pavilion's mountain range couldn't match the natural advantages of Huashan, it held a mystery Huashan couldn't rival. The Myriad Flowers Pavilion was perched on Myriad Flower Mountain, a land of natural peril. The mountain range was filled with countless rare flowers and exotic herbs, making it a veritable mountain of flowers. Halfway up Myriad Flower Mountain, Master, what kind of flower is this? So beautiful. A young girl bent slightly, her gaze fixed on a delicate flower blooming on the ground. The flower had 5 distinct petals, and the center of the blossom shimmered faintly, a clear sign that this was a fully mature serpent scorpion flower. A woman spoke, her lips painted a cold red, betraying an aloofness that even the traces of age on her face couldn't hide. Any keen observer would instantly recognize this woman as the pavilion master of the Myriad Flowers Pavilion, Hua Xian, a true Dou Xian expert. Serpent scorpion flower, huh? The woman glanced down at the flower, seemingly lost in thought, as memories surfaced of a dark-haired man carrying a heavy ruler on his back. What's wrong? Thinking about that little lover of yours again? Hua Xian frowned slightly before asking the woman before her. The woman was none other than Yue Ru, whom Xiao Yan had met in the past. Now, Yue Ru had reached the pinnacle of the perfect 5-star Dou Di level, just one step away from becoming a 6-star Dou Di. Were it not for concerns over her potential as the inheritor of the Bright Moon Fairy's legacy, Hua Xian might have already helped her break through. The Yue Ru standing here was no longer the same as when Xiao Yan first met her. Now, she had matured into a woman with a perfect, alluring figure that would drive countless men wild. Master! Yue Ru blushed slightly at her master's teasing, playfully pouting in response. Curious about his whereabouts, aren't you? Hua Xian saw right through her disciple's thoughts, smiling knowingly.
Yes.
Yue Ru answered without hesitation, her interest piqued. Since joining the Myriad Flowers Pavilion, Yue Ru had quickly gained the attention of the pavilion's higher-ups. With her exceptional potential and status as an inheritor, she earned Hua Xian's favor, becoming her final disciple. However, despite her rapid rise, Yue Ru had spent most of her time in diligent cultivation, knowing little of the outside world. Her master had placed numerous restrictions on her, further limiting her knowledge, especially about Xiao Yan. That boy, Xiao Yan, right? Hua Xian didn't drag it out and spoke softly. She knew her beloved disciple's temperament all too well. If she held back any longer, Yue Ru's intense gaze would probably bore holes through her. Yes. Yue Ru, hearing the name, quickly set aside her other thoughts and focused intently. After joining the Incense Pavilion, he chose the weakest of the heaven, earth, and human halls, the human hall. I don't know his reasons, Hua Xian said casually. I believe he has his reasons, Yue Ru said softly, though her furrowed brows betrayed her curiosity. After joining the human hall, Elder Zhu Jin took them to the Xianling royal family's mystic spirit pool for immersion. Something unpleasant seemed to happen, but with Zhu Jin present, nothing serious occurred. After that, Zhu Jin sent them to train in the Deathly Desert, where they spent several years. I'm not sure what happened during that time, but after returning from the Deathly Desert, Xiao Yan's strength increased significantly. He even won first place in the Incense Pavilion's team tournament. As of now, that boy should be absorbing the rewards of his victory, Hua Xian said lightly. It was clear that, as a Dou Xian expert, nothing could escape her watchful eyes if she cared to look. Yue Ru listened intently without interrupting, fully aware that her master's vague words masked countless hidden dangers. Master, what's his strength level now? Yue Ru asked after a moment, feeling a sense of relief but still curious. Strength? Likely at the late 6-star Dou D level, Hua Xian said nonchalantly. She cared little for the power of outsiders, but given her disciple's deep feelings for Xiao Yan, she had kept an eye on him. Late 6-star Dou D. Yue Ru smiled, feeling a quiet satisfaction. Remember your promise to him? You said you'd need his help when you broke through to 6-star Dou D. Looks like that time is near, Hua Xian mused. Master, I want to go find Xiao Yan during this ruins expedition, Yue Ru suddenly said, gathering her courage. Although she didn't know the full reasons, Yue Ru was aware that most disciples of the Myriad Flowers Pavilion harbored some level of hostility toward the Incense Pavilion, especially at the higher levels. Even her master wasn't an exception. Fine. It's your business, after all. For the sake of your connection with that boy, I'll suppress the opposition from within the sect this time, Hua Xian said, gently stroking Yue Ru's long, flowing hair with a maternal warmth. Thank you, master. Yue Ru felt her eyes sting with emotion. She knew full well that openly seeking out Xiao Yan like this would give her fellow disciples plenty of ammunition for gossip. Though she herself didn't care, her master's reputation was another matter entirely. Don't worry. Though I have an irreconcilable grudge with the Incense Pavilion, I won't interfere in your affairs. Hua Xian smiled, a gentle energy soothing Yue Ru's heart. Master, thank you. Yue Ru's heart warmed as she smiled back. Master, is there really no way to resolve your grudge with the Incense Pavilion? Yue Ru asked after a moment of hesitation. Resolve it? Impossible. Unless the heavens collapse. Unless he crawls on his knees from the Incense Pavilion, bowing every 3 steps. If not, this grudge will never be resolved in this lifetime. With Yue Ru's question, Hua Xian, usually so gentle, suddenly unleashed the full force of her Dou Xian power. A terrifying pressure exploded from her, sweeping across the space in an instant. Cough, cough. What kind of deep-seated grudge exists between Master and the Incense Pavilion? How could it escalate to this extent? Yue Ru struggled to stay on her feet. Were it not for the inherited power of the Moonlight Fairy flowing within her, she would have long been forced to her knees under the crushing weight of that Dou Xian power. At the same time, an uninvited guest shattered the barriers protecting Myriad Flower Mountain and stepped inside. Exiner, this time,